Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again. It's Wednesday, midweek Wednesday. Hope you're doing well. It's the holiday week between Christmas and New Year's Day. And boy, this is always a crazy week. Kind of an unusual week, isn't it, that week? And I hope everybody is doing good. Unfortunately, I've been down for the last couple days with a stomach virus. It started the day of my last video, which I'll talk about in a minute. And, it's one of those things got to run its course. I'm still not 100%, but I'm down the shop hoping to make a watchable video. Like I said about the holidays, always crazy. Certain things always happen around the holidays. People get sick, people pass away. I don't know why. And we always associate that with the holiday season. You say, it's always like, sometimes you got to walk on eggshells around the holidays. Speaking of my last video, okay, now I was taking apart a wrench. I wanted to do something a little bit quick and easy for the last video. I wasn't feeling well, ran into a problem, and I posted, a help video. Please, could you help me out with this because I couldn't figure it out. I'm flabbergasted. That's why I tell you this is the best tool. The tool community is the best community without doubt on YouTube, and the subscribers are just the best on these channels, and it's unbelievable. So I had a lot of you respond with what you thought it could be, all fantastic, and I would come down here and give it a shot and say, well, this don't seem like, people are saying shake it, or it might be a wedge, or there's so many things. But then even my buddy Joe from Joe's shop, he went out, he was looking for, he knows he has the same wrench. He went down for 45 minutes trying to find the wrench. He couldn't find it. I had a couple people said they were going to, cut it apart just to see what it is. But then the Prince of New Jersey, my good friend, 357 Magdad, he went downstairs, he had one, he took it apart and rightly, he knocked it apart, 1, 2, 3. And once I saw there wasn't a secondary pin, I was able to come down and give it a second, using a secondary shot, gave it a shot of seeing what was hanging up, and I'll get to it in a minute. But I just wanted to put out a special thanks to 357 Magdad for going out above and beyond. I'll have a post, a link to his video. You could see what he did. Just fantastic. So let's get started today and see what we got going. Now, many times you'll hear me say, sometimes if you don't have to take things apart, don't. You're just asking for more problems, things like that. And a lot of times I heed my own advice. But with this particular one, I'll show you why I had to take it apart. These wrenches were notorious for one problem, and I'm going to show you what that is. But we couldn't get the handle off. I went through that. 357 Magdad came up. And once I realized that there was nothing, no secondary pin, I was looking at photos all over the internet. And I'll tell you, the more you look, the more you start to see little circles that you think might be a little pin or whatever. But he was just saying, that there was no pin on there. So what I did was, I tried it with the Dake. Let me show you what I tried the first time. Everybody's favorite, the Dake. Let me show you what I tried the first time. Now, the first time I tried to press it out with the Dake, I used a regular punch. This is a drive punch, and I had it in here like this, and I was pressing it down with the standard nose cone, and I got to 2 tons. And when you get to 2 tons and you have something that, especially this is hardened steel, that can, kind of explode on you, and you start to get a little nervous. You could feel when you're putting a lot of pressure on, and that's why I backed off. I said, I just wasn't feeling it. But once I found out from 357 Magdad that there was no secondary pin, I said, you know what, I'm going to go in, but I'm not going to use this punch now that I'm going to put extra force in, and I'll show you what I did. Now, what I did was I changed it over to the step cone, and I used a hardened bolt. Okay, this is like a 1/4 by, let me make sure I'm in focus here, 1/4 by 20 hardened bolt, and I put that in here right under the step cone. And when I pressed it down, now I had all the pressure. I didn't have to worry about this, blowing up or exploding or snapping under pressure. And it eventually, it went 2 tons, and then all of a sudden it slid right out. And that was how I was able to get that out. So it was a kind of, I guess, a heavy burr holding up me getting it apart. Now, I believe once they put this handle on, they also peen it over, because you could see the deformation of the edge on here. So I believe that once this handle is in, that, they peen it over and then grind it flush. So The reason I had to take that handle off, or wanted to take the handle off, because the big problem with these wrenches is they tend to be pinchy. And when I say pinchy, you can see here that it's touching at the tips before it touches in the back, and that's the worst thing. It tends to get caught up on nuts, it gets stuck, and it makes it very annoying to use. There's a couple ways you could do it. You could, you know, if this is not square, you could bend this back, or if this is not square, sometimes you can't really adjust this because it slides on. So what they do is you have to take this to a belt sander, touch it to the belt sander, and grind it off. So now we have to see which side is giving us the problem. Sometimes it's hard to tell by looking at it, especially when you have an angle cut like this, because it tends to look like it's already tilted down, right? If you look at it with the naked eye. So you have to use something, you know. This is a 1, 2, 3 block. We put it over here, slide it up, and then you look for light in between. And you can see here, we're in good shape. It looks pretty square. We have no light under here, no light under here. So that looks like a square edge, even though to the naked eye, it looks like this is tilting down. So then you say, okay, what about this part here? How do we check that? Well, to check this, you could do it 2 different ways, but the way I would do it is to put it on a flat surface like this, and then bring this block up to here, and bring it here and see if you have any tilt. And let me bring the camera down. Now, if we put the 1, 2, 3 block on the flat spot here, we can see it's touching on the top here. But when we push this in, you could see with the light in the background, you see that little sliver of light? It's touching towards the tip, and that's where all the problems is with this. So it's much easier to take this piece off of the wrench, take it onto the belts, and you could see, if you look at this, it already looks like there's more material up here than back here. So we're just going to level that off. And to do that, you have to put on a flat surface, tilt the front, you know, until this all becomes flat, and then keep checking it with the, just sliding it back on the wrench. So let's get that done real quick. Now, here we are before and after, and you could see here the jaws are nice and parallel. It closes nicely. We reground top and bottom. Now there's a section here, the center section of the wrench, the main body, you could see is a hard forging, and you can see that's a little crease. That's not a crack, but a crease. Here we are at our post wire brush evaluation. You can see what we did here, and like I said, this is a rough forging. Now you could take this down and make it beautiful. The problem is, remember when you do that, now you're going to introduce excessive slop into the wrench. You see, it already has that slop is necessary to get these to work the way they do. But when you start taking even a couple thousandths off these edges, this becomes sloppy, and it's just, you know, it's not good, you know. And then these jaws start to cant and cock on each other. So that's an issue. You have to think about that. That's your restrictions. However, you see we got some pitting over here. We could take that off, you know. That's just horrible, you know, the back there. We can do that up nice, you know. Around here, that's another thing. You got these forging, and again, this is these were meant to be used. They weren't meant to be pretty wrenches. You could see here in this casting, we got a lot of flaws going on. Someone was banging it on the back here. If you see here, if you're ever going to pop these rivets out, it's important to remember, one side of the rivet has a ledge. So you must drive it out from this side out if you're going to punch it or press it out. Remember, there's a ledge here. If you try and press it out this way, you're going to be dealing with that ledge. So always make sure you go for the smaller diameter whenever you're pressing a rivet out. And of course, this piece is always, the knurling comes out nice. So let's see what we can do and get it back together. Okay, now we put the handle back on, and we peened this over. Remember, this was peened over to begin with. That was giving us the problem. Now we'll clean this up at the end, but after we put the pin in. But this is solid. It will not come. It cannot move. It is on there solid. But we just want to put a retaining pin in there. And to do that, to get the right size, what we'll do is we'll come over here to our pin gauge set. Now, this is the set that goes from 251 thousandths, that's just a 1 thousandths over quarter inch, to ½ inch, which is 500 thousandths, in 1,000th increments. Now, what you do is you would pull out a pin and until you get the right size. Here we'll pull out 282 thousandths because I did that before, and this one seems to fit nice and snug. Okay, so you see it in there. That's a snug fit, no wiggle. You know what I mean? So if we tried 283, let's see if we can get that through. 283. See, I can't get 283 through. So it's 282 thousandths, this one here. So what we do is we take this pin and then we just make one on the lathe. And I'm going to use aluminum because, like I said, this handle is not going off. So it just makes it that much easier to pin down. So let's go to the lathe and turn a pin down so that we can put it in. This old school, we're going to take a pair of outside calipers. And what we're going to do is we're going to place it over the pin that we know there's the right size. So it just touches. You see that? It just touches, you know, not enough to hold it, but just enough to touch. And then we'll turn down that area until this passes over. So we don't need this pin anymore. Now you see, here we are, we're taking the calipers here, and you can see we can pass it over like that. And that is very close to what, again, we're going to be expanding it. So you can see that's how we do it real easy. Now we'll just cut this off and we'll put the pin in. Now, you know my favorite part. Remember what this Pexto wrench looked like before we started. And we're calling this project done. Now, you remember we had a lot of little issues with this wrench, but mostly getting it to be parallel at the top, which we did here. And we did the top over nice. We did the back. And you remember how some of these, this casting looked, and a lot of these did it in nice satin, right? Beveled all the edges like we always do. Had to, you know, be creative with the bluing and the silver to make it look like I think they would have been happy with at the factory. All silver on, blued the inside here. The rivet, you know, we pressed it down. That looks pretty nice, right? And the back, look at this. Look at that handle, what we did now. See that? It's just beautiful, huh? Yeah, this is, I think I'm happy with. Now look at how this works. Look, one finger. Look at that. Look how this works. This is the way it's supposed to work. And got the lettering all there. Let's try it out and see if how it works on a nut. Okay, here we go. We'll take this on. You can see it's parallel now. So we could slide it on, slide it off. You know, you could also, if you were dealing with a nut like this, you could lift it up this way. But you could see how nicely that works now. And you know, and again, with the one finger adjustment, it just makes this so nice to use. Okay, so in closing, we got to use a lot, almost everything, the dake, the lathe. So we got to use a lot of toys down here today, and it was a good project. I'm glad the way it came out, but those things, they look a lot easier than they are. A lot of projects are like that, aren't they? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you again on Friday. Take care now. Special thanks to 357 Magdad again for posting that video. Really helped out. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.